Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young. This is a weekly podcast where we explore the strengths we have because of our sensitivity and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there. To the creatives, sensitives, healers, and deep thinkers, how the heck are you? It has been a while since I've recorded, although you would not know that since there have been no breaks in you listening to episodes, but how are you doing? I know we are about at the end of November now. Are you celebrating anything? I'm so reluctant to even name this kind of stuff just because the world is on fire and we've colonized everything. That's all I'm going to say. All of the other episodes I recorded last August and September, and as I sat down to record and was jotting down things that I'm going to try and talk about today, I had this thought that maybe I should be creating content that's more about autism, that's more informative and educational as opposed to giving you updates on my personal life, which I do believe always has information about how I'm navigating autism and conflicts and things. But I thought maybe I'm just being self-centered and nobody cares. I'm sure there's some truth in that also. So I don't know. So I'm just going to talk about some stuff. And if you have feedback and you want me to do more educational stuff, sometimes that's even easier just because I can generate some ideas and don't have to think about what's going on. It has been really nice. Things have been very quiet and peaceful. There's not a lot of drama going on. The stuff with the neighborhood is pretty much calmed down. We do run across these people frequently. This week so far, twice. We ran into two people at one point and one person at another point. The nice thing is that my body is not having a reaction, which I really appreciate. I'm able to center in my body after we have a unexpected passing, and my body is okay. It sometimes does activate a little bit of the thinking part about it, but it really has not been that bad, and I'm grateful. So the point being that we can get through uncomfortable things. While we wouldn't choose to have this happen, that we can't control what people are going to think about us, how people perceive us. People are going to have their own thoughts and judgments about us, and we can't control that. And as uncomfortable as it is, and being perceived is already difficult enough for us, I think learning to navigate that is really, really important. And that has been a gift. I think it's really helped me. I don't know if you have heard of the We Do Not Care Club. I may have talked about it, We Do Not Care Club, the WDNC. And if you use that hashtag on Instagram or TikTok, I think it's also on Facebook. It was started by someone, her hashtag is I think it's just being Melanie, MELANI. And it's basically perimenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal women that just don't care anymore. And I think it's been really helpful for me to just allow myself to relax and feel more liberated in who I am and the choices that I make. I've really been in this place of not enough. Whatever I do just doesn't feel like enough. And I just recorded with Alex this morning on the other podcast, Unapologetically AuDHD. We just wrapped up the fourth episode, I think, of What is Autism, looking at the diagnostic criteria from a lived experience perspective. But I was sharing that I had a client this morning, and then I had some time between the client and when Alex and I recorded, and I have this ongoing to-do list. I've been feeling very, very overwhelmed, having a very hard time initiating tasks. And I think the less I have to do, the harder it is for me to get things done. And I had been needing to write myself a check from one of my accounts and deposit it. And I was able to do that. And so when Alex said, "How are you doing?" It's like, my big accomplishment for today is I wrote the check. And the check has needed to be written for a couple of weeks now, so it's good that I did it. But I am so into my era of not enough, and I had a break, and I went to grab a bite to eat and was talking to my husband and told him where I'm at. He's like, "That's just what's going to be on your tombstone. Didn't do enough, haven't done enough." And for some reason, that is really up for me right now. I don't know if this is related, but I did decrease the OCD medication that I've been taking. What I liked about it was it made me feel like everything is just fine and things didn't really bother me. And I needed that for a while. I was actually going to increase my dosage and talk to my provider about this when we were going through the neighborhood stuff, but I sat through it and was able to not increase it. And now I've decreased it because I do feel like it blunted me a little bit. And I am feeling a sense of being a little bit more alive, feeling a little bit more connected. I tend to be a crier, and on the medication, I don't think that I've cried. Things generally touch me, and that is one of the things. And for that time being, I think it was really nice to not have that. I was also thinking this morning, I really try and think about what things can I be grateful for in the morning and throughout the day that I may not appreciate at other times in my life. And things right now are just, they're very boring. And that means it's stable and there's not a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and worrying. And I think it's important that when we go through these periods to appreciate it. I know somebody who is going through something right now, and what they've said is like, I just want things to go back to how they were. I just want to go back to normal. And I often have this narrative that I'm not interesting, I'm not funny, I don't have a lot to say. And I think when I deal with regular people that are more neurotypical, that may be true. But when I'm around my people, I have a lot of things to say. So what kind of messages do we give ourselves, or what kinds of things have we heard or been told about ourselves, and do we need to change those messages? I know that I've talked to you a little bit about, I think I was talking about the We Do Not Care Club previously, and I was trying to make a correlation, and then I lost my train of thought, and I had my editor cut it out, and I can't remember what that correlation was. So I'm just mentioning this. So if something feels like it's not connecting, it's not. I'm having a very hard time keeping my train of thought today, and that's just what you get. I've talked to you previously about this couple that we spend time with, that I love spending time with them, and they really open up our palettes and our lives to lots of new experiences, and I'm resistant every single time. And the other morning, my husband and I walked down to Target to grab something, and then we decided to walk to this other little place, and he wanted to get something, and I got a latte. And while we were walking, the husband and the couple texted us and said, hey, there's this activity coming up. Do you want to go, and do you want to invite all the kids, meaning both of our sons, my son's wife and my other son's girlfriend? And I said, hey, we're in the middle of a walk right now. Let me circle back with you. And really what that meant was, that's just too much to take in. And Steve and I talked about it, and we kind of went round and round, and we did decide to go. We asked the kids if they were interested in going. They did want to go. And so later that morning, this couple stopped by. They live in the neighborhood, and we had just a lovely visit. It was probably the highlight of my day. And they already know that I go through this stuff. And so I had shared with them that, again, when I had said we're walking to the store, what I really meant is, why do you keep asking us this stuff? It's really overwhelming. This is stupid. I don't like it. But this is my way of buying time. And they laughed, and we talked about, I think they just have a deep appreciation for who I am. And I said, I would be willing to be transparent, that if you want to text me and ask what my response is, as long as you know that this is just what I go through. And it's frustrating because it's not like I do it once, we go out, we have a great time, and I'm like, great. And the next time it happens, I remember the last time. It feels like a Groundhog Day thing with me, that every single time they ask us to do something, I go through these contortions. But they would be willing to hear all my grumbles and what they are. And I shared with them the things that went on, like, this is stupid. It's really expensive. You know, why would we want to do this? And I wish in the moment now I can remember what all my considerations are. It is at night. We are celebrating Thanksgiving on a day that's not Thanksgiving because my son has duty that day. And I think I had mentioned that this couple changed their flight. They have a second home, and they changed their flight so that they could join our family. They're kind of our adopted family, and we just love them. The kids love them. But this thing of going through contortions, every time something new comes up where it invites me to stretch and to change, money is always a consideration for me. And it's not, we generally can afford, we're privileged enough that we can afford to do the things that they ask us. Not that they're even that expensive. Sometimes they are. Growing up, being on food stamps and not having enough, and I think from where my mom's family came from and going through the depression, I just have that depression mentality financially. And sometimes spending money is challenging for me. And so that's kind of the first place that I go to ground and organize is always around money. This is so expensive. This is so stupid. Blah, 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 blah. And every time we've done something with them, it's really been delightful and it expands me. But they were open to hearing my grumbling. So we'll see how that goes the next time they invite us to do something. But they really are delightful. And I feel like they really embrace all of my neurodivergence and I can just be totally authentic and they embrace and appreciate it, which is really nice. I've been talking to you about my son and his wife are planning to move in. It was supposed to be October. Now it's November. My husband's saying it may not be till January. I don't know. But what this has meant is having to clear out and make space for them because I have hobbies and then I have the hobby of collecting all the supplies that you need for the hobby. And so I've done paper crafting and sewing and embroidery and cross stitch and crochet and jewelry making. I'm trying to think of what else. So I have a lot of supplies. And I think because of my ADHD, I do something for a while and then I burn out. But because I have such an investment in my supplies, I don't want to get rid of them. And even things like I was cleaning out the back bedroom and I, for a period, loved clogs. And I have a bunch of suede colored clogs in beautiful colors that I got from Land's End. I haven't worn clogs in years, but I'm just not ready to get rid of them. And so we've been in this process of cleaning out. And so there's not only the cleaning out and having to decide what to keep, what to throw out, and what to give away. And we have been able to bless somebody with all the things that we're getting rid of, which makes me very happy. Then it means finding homes for all of these things, which I have not done yet. And I still have a couple more rooms that we need to purge. The good news is, and I don't know if I shared this, I was talking with a friend probably a month ago, and she sent me a text saying, and may you have the urge to purge. And it's nice. I really have been in this place where I just want to get rid of things. And that's very helpful. But I feel like I get very disconnected when I'm in this place. There's no emotional attachment to things, which is helpful. But it's also challenging. And I haven't really worried about this with any of the things, but I'm going through this with my kayaks. I went paddling with a friend, Brenda, who I talked about. If you've been a longtime listener, we used to paddle every Monday. And it was a very windy day and it was in the afternoon. And I have two boats. I've got a larger boat that's green that I love and a smaller boat that's better in the wind that I don't paddle as much anymore, but it's not as comfortable. And I think I told you that I had back pain for years, finally got it taken care of. It went away, went and paddled in my blue boat and the back pain came back and I had it for a few weeks. I don't know if I would have had it if I paddled the green boat, but I just don't paddle anymore. I haven't used my trunk in years because I have these little stools that I put my kayak on after I paddle so that I can rinse it off. I've got my kayak carrier in there. I've got an extra change of clothes in case I ever fall in and need dry clothes. So when I go shopping, when I do anything, I don't put anything in the trunk. It always goes in the back seat. And I did decide that I just wanted to get that stuff out of the back of my car. I tried to get the racks off my car, but I'm not able to. And in this kind of wanting to get rid of things, there's a part of me that just wants to get rid of all the kayak stuff. It hurts my back. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't paddle with the groups that I do, but I'm trying to sit for a month before I do anything rash. I do have someone who wants to buy my green boat and then I'm like, well, do I sell my marine radio? Do I sell my life jackets? Do I sell my very expensive paddles? I do not have an answer, but I'm just wondering if that resonates for anybody. And I was telling my husband, I don't know if this is true or not, but in the past, when I've broken up with somebody and then I just want to get rid of everything that relates to them, it's kind of how I'm feeling about all the kayak stuff. And I think my life has changed. The people that I paddled with at one time, it just doesn't work to paddle with them anymore. I don't have that regularity of paddling. And I had forgotten what it was like to have my back feel really uncomfortable and to finally be able to get rid of that pain. I don't know what I'm going to do. So are there things in your life that you're wanting to get rid of, that you're holding on to? Have you gotten rid of things that you regretted? Years ago, I got rid of a brand new gray sweatshirt that was hooded zip up. And I totally forgot about it. Then years later, like I wanted that sweatshirt and then I want to use that as an argument of, see, that's why I don't get rid of things. I think a lot of us can be very attached to our things. I think some of it is trauma. I think some of it is object permanence. You've definitely heard me talk about my don't touch my things, don't move my things. And so our things can mean a lot to us and more than I think someone who's not autistic, neurodivergent. So we are getting things started to get set up for the kids. And then I have this thing of like, what if they don't move in and I've got rid of all this stuff and I didn't need to? But things do need to be cleaned out and purged. So that's where we're at. It's interesting too. One of the things I've been having a little bit of sadness about, I must have been reading a book about someone who had a friend and every day they would talk and the ways that they leaned on each other, and missing that, not having somebody in my life, my husband, but a girlfriend that we talk daily or almost daily and know everything that's going on in the ins and outs. I don't know if I would be able to do that without getting the OCD activated. I don't know, but I sometimes feel like I miss that. I also feel like I've gotten much better at regulating myself and being fine. I think one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to having the kids move in is I enjoy that contact and that companionship. A couple Saturdays ago, my daughter-in-law was here and my son had duty and my husband went to a concert. So it was just the two of us. And we talked about what did we want to do that evening. And we went grocery shopping. We picked out some recipes. We cooked together. We ate together. And we had some really intimate conversation that I don't think would have happened if she wasn't staying with us. And because I'm wired for depth and contact and communication, those relational things are really, really important to me. And I think that's part of why I am looking forward to having them move in, because of that interaction that you don't get when people don't live with you. And I love my husband, but we've been together so long, the routine is a lot of the same. And so there's not a lot of freshness or novelty. And when the kids are here, we tend to do more things. There's a little mountain town near us called Julian. And a couple weeks ago, I can't remember if I've recorded since then. I don't know. But my son and his wife and my other son and his girlfriend and my husband and I all drove to Julian. We walked around the town that day. It was very crowded and very people-y, and it was warm. So it was not as enjoyable as it would have been on another day. And fall is a very popular time there. But my husband and I wouldn't go to Julian. Like, we've been there. There's no reason to go. And so I like when the kids are around, they infuse new energy. And then they cooked a meal one night that was delicious. And they cooked for us, and that was nice. And we just tend to do more things when the kids are around. So I will keep you posted on as much as I can about that. I think I told you this too, that I realized somebody had asked me what my favorite holiday was, and I really had to think about it. I think often if you're autistic, when somebody asks you what your favorite, whatever it is, that we want more information, like my favorite holiday of the whole time, or, what's your favorite color, or your favorite meal. And it's that those things that are at the extreme are very difficult, and we want conditions and we want multiples. But I did realize that Thanksgiving really is my favorite holiday. I know it's a colonized holiday, and I'm sorry about that. But probably because it's just our family and we have traditions and it's very low key, except for the year that I lost my shirt about the gravy. And that was a hard one. And once it's over, there's not a lot of expectations. Christmas to me is very overstimulating. I do like Christmas, but it's very overstimulating. And so I think Thanksgiving really is the holiday that I enjoy the most, because family is here and because I don't cook a lot, we have a really nice meal. So I guess I'm curious, do you have a favorite holiday? And if so, why? And did anything make it that way? Or do you not like certain holidays because of negative experiences? And I guess talking a little bit about the holidays, are there things that would be helpful for you to do that would make the holidays more manageable? Do you need to say no to more things? Do you need to take your own car so that you can leave? Do you need to bring your own food? What are things that make the holidays enjoyable, and what are the things that don't make it enjoyable? And how can you make it so that it's more friendly to you. I can't remember the episode, but I did an episode early on with Sharon, and I can't think of her last name, but we did a holiday episode. If I can find it, I will put it in the show notes. But we talked about ways to make the holidays more manageable. And I think that's why I like Thanksgiving, because we used to invite extended family. And it's not that I don't like family, but it's just our immediate family. And I really, really enjoy that. I'm also really enjoying having my son's, my daughter-in-law and my son's girlfriend, that having extra girl energy around. And the women are very similar to me, that it just creates a nice balance. I love my husband. I love my boys, but they have an energy that is just not like me, and they're not wired like I am. And so to have that camaraderie and that understanding, and it's so fascinating to me to see that often the challenges that these young women are having with my sons, their partners, are very similar to the things that, how I'm wired and how my husband is wired. And so I think it's very validating for everybody to be able to talk about the challenges and like, yep, that's just how they are. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I was going to talk about the horses, but I don't really have a lot of information. What I can say is I missed a couple weeks because the heat was just too much. And I went out last weekend, had a beautiful time, was able to lead one of the horses in a lesson, but he was very kind of pushy with his nose. And at the end of the lesson, I had asked the instructor, who I love, she always gives me so much context for things, if she could talk to me a little bit when she had time about what I could have done differently. And I had forgotten that horses need their space. And I think a number of times when the instructor has us stop, the leader of the horse will stand in front of the horse. And I think I just didn't give him enough space, and it just was not even on my radar. And so I want to be more mindful about that. So him kind of being pushy with his nose could have been him saying, give me my space. And I was just clueless about it. But I love how she gives me information when she does this. And I have to tell you, I think I only volunteered for 2 hours. Oh, there was a training, so I was gone for much longer. But I came home and was just exhausted, and my feet hurt. I wear hiking boots out there, but being in the arena where the sand is, and we did a little bit of galloping with the horses, which means I have to run and everybody runs. I don't feel like I did that much, but I came home and my body hurt and I was achy and I had a headache, and I cleaned up and just was kind of out for the rest of the day. And it is so hard for me to not go into judgment that many of the volunteers are older than I am. They spend far more time volunteering than I do during the day, a longer shift. And it's so hard for me because I go into judgment about what my limitations and what my capabilities are. And then I've been in this place where I've been a little bit fearful about aging, thinking if I get this worn out now, then what's it going to look like later on? And sigh. But I know that this isn't unique to me. I know that, we do this thing where we compare and we do things that kind of scare ourselves, and that's hard. I think the last thing, and I'm going to be a little bit vague about it, is somebody has asked something of me, and it's not anything that's difficult or unreasonable, but it's feeling like a demand. And it's really bringing up my PDA, my pathological demand avoidance, which I prefer to call Pervasive Drive for Autonomy, PDA. And every day that I'm not responding, I did respond the other day and said, hey, I have a lot going on and I just need a little bit of time. So I did communicate, but every day I keep thinking like I've got to deal with this thing. And then I just feel bad for not doing it. But my PDA is just up so high right now. And I think that's also making me feel real guilty for just not dealing with this thing. And that's what happens when we have PDA. It is not easy. And it can even be things that are going to serve us and make us feel better or help us in our lives. Even things like personal care. I've been kind of grumpy about adulting. It's just hard having to come up with ideas for meals and cook meals and having to floss and brush. And sometimes adulting, I think, is overrated. So on that note, how are you all doing? What are you needing in your life? What are you struggling with? What would you want to be easier? What can you do to help the holidays go a little bit smoother? If there's anything that I can do to help you with that, please reach out and let me know. Feel free to email me at unapologeticallysensitive@gmail.com. If you're interested in working together, you can reach me at unapologeticallysensitive.com. I have a sheet where you can contact me if you identify as HSP, you're wondering if maybe you're autistic. If you have ADHD and you're wondering if you're autistic, if you're just wondering if you're autistic. I don't do assessments, but I have a pretty good autism radar. What I find is clients being able to understand why they struggle with the things that they struggle are often autism, ADHD related, and understanding that and figuring out how to work with that and being really validated in this is your experience and there's nothing wrong with you, but the world expects you to show up a certain way. And when you're neurodivergent, it just makes it a lot harder. And so working together can be really helpful if you're struggling with parenting, with relationships, with work, with getting stuff done, coming up with systems, feeling like you're not enough. I know that one. Feeling like you see and understand things that other people don't, and it's very frustrating. Yeah, any of those things. I do have another podcast called Unapologetically AuDHD. It's not out all over, so I think the easiest place that you can find it is Spotify or YouTube channel, or if you go to my website, unapologeticallysensitive.com, there's a podcast page with all the episodes. I think that's it. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's how your brain is wired. You have a right to be overwhelmed, tired, cranky, fearful, joyful, exuberant, content, happy, fulfilled. You are not for everybody, and everyone is not for you. I think that's it. Have a blessed day.